good morning, or whatever time. Welcome to Passages of Pranayama. I'm going to discuss somewhat random passages. Oftentimes, I'm sticking with the traditional stuff, but sometimes I go off script, if you will, looking at poetry and song and things of that nature. But today I'm sticking with something a lot more traditional. Right? This is an Upanishad, the Mundaka Upanishad, and this is from the third chapter. If you're familiar with the Upanishads, I mean, very kind of direct experiences in self-realization and great instruction along the way. So as I mentioned, this is the Mundaka Upanishad. This is the third part, and we're reading the first three passages from the third part. And it goes, the very first passage, she knows the universe, and which shines holy. Those wise ones, indeed, who having become desireless, worship this enlightened person, transcend this human seed. Passage number 2. She who covets the desirable things while brooding on their virtues is born amidst those very surroundings along with the desires. But for one who has got her wishes fulfilled and who is self-poised, it's capital S, all the longings vanish even here. And finally, the third passage, this self, capital S, remember, is not attained through study, nor through the intellect, nor through much hearing. The very self, which this one, the aspirant, seeks, is attainable through that fact of seeking. This self is her reveals its own true nature. This self of hers reveals its own true nature. Okay, so as we can see in the first two passages here, we're given some insight into, kind of how to become self-realized, right? How to proceed, if you will, in this practice. So I'll repeat, she knows this supreme abode, this Brahman, in which is placed the universe, and which shines holy. Those wise ones, indeed, who, having become desireless, worship this enlightened person, transcend this human seed. So we might first discover Brahman, the Tao, the true self, the spirit, by first realizing that it is, in fact, there, that it is possible, right? Because if we don't have, well, what good is belief, right? What good is an attempt to achieve in this case, a state not of mind, but of beyond the mind, a transcendent state that is beyond the mind, if we don't believe that, in fact, it is there. So we hear the stories, we read the stories. We might know those who have experienced that place beyond the mind, beyond the limits of the physical body. And we hear those stories, and hopefully, I'm not going to say hopefully. I'm going to say, if you're on this path, then you've got to kind of commit yourself to believing that it's possible. Without any, belief in it, then your success is limited by the limitations that your mind is imposing upon itself. All right. Well, let me move on, because I do want to get to a good pranayama practice, lengthy pranayama practice today. All right. We go on to the second passage. She who covets the desirable things while brooding on their virtues is born amidst those very surroundings along with the desires. But for one who has got her wishes fulfilled and who is self-poised, all the longings vanish even here. So simple instructions. They're very, very simple and very direct instructions. It's not instructions that you might read, say, in like the Yoga Sutra necessarily, or the Sankhya Karika necessarily, but it's giving us advice, right? The things that we desire most, right? The things that are going to keep us bound. Right? Liberation is impossible if we have a, really strong desire to, acquire things, an attachment to those things that are desired. As it says here, while brooding after this along with desires. So it has like this effect. Well, the things that we desire, we keep acquiring. And as we keep on acquiring them, we desire something else. Right? This is, great advice for any parents out there. I certainly teach my little girl. Not that I neglect her any, I don't neglect her things, right? Toys, the things that would, maybe help her enjoy the material. But instead, not that it always comes along with the warning, but I often would advise her or maybe warn her. Remember, the happiness that you feel in receiving this gift, especially, I suppose, in this season right now, the happiness that you feel in receiving this gift is short-lived. And the chances of you, now desiring something else to fulfill that short-lived enjoyment is now going to require one more thing, right? So the pieces just keep adding up. Look back on your own life, maybe. I was certainly a kid who was, spoiled to a healthy degree, let's just say. I mean, it wasn't showered in riches or anything like that, but I had a lot of Transformers, right? I had a whole lot of Transformers when I was a kid. And I had a lot of Star Wars figures. I had a lot of those things. And, they were enjoyable, that's for sure. But it always seemed like, well, I didn't have this one, right? Growing up, you understand that, we hope that we understand, and that's the crux of this passage, right? That there is a limit to material things. That true enjoyment comes through, in this case, in this passage, is understanding the attachments that come with material things. And if we can relieve ourselves of those attachments, the mind becomes more settled, which is a prerequisite for us to enter into that state of Brahman or Tao, or again, that state of deep peace in transcendence. So limit your desires, right? That is the main lesson here. All right, and finally, the third passage. This self is not attained through study, nor through the intellect, nor through much hearing. The very self which this one, the aspirant, of course, seeks to attain, is attainable through that fact of seeking. This self of hers reveals its own nature. All right, so what are we doing right now, right? You're hearing, right? I'm speaking, you're hearing. This is all just cognitive, right? You're acquiring knowledge, right, through the intellect. And essentially, these are the warnings that the author of the Mundaka is telling us about in this passage, right? This self, right, this higher self, is not attainable through study. It's not, right? It's not attainable through reading the Upanishads, nor through the intellect, right? Again, kind of hearing this knowledge and, thinking about it and pondering upon it, nor through much hearing. All right? So again, it's like if you turn it off right now, I'm fine. So long as you go and do your meditation practice. So it goes on again. The very self, again, capital S, this higher transcendent self, which this one, the aspirant, we seek, is attainable through that fact of seeking. That fact of seeking is practice. Now, what kind of practice, right? What kind of practice are we talking about here? Well, ultimately the practice of meditation, right? Ultimately. But the tool, karma, through selfless service, karma yoga through self-discipline, jnana yoga through gaining knowledge, yes, and bhakti yoga through devotion. Again, that just improves the mind. It makes the mind, it sharpens the tool of the mind so that it might be able to transcend itself. Okay. And then finally, this self of hers reveals its own nature. Right? So we almost have to trust it. We have to trust the practice. We have to trust that at some point the self will reveal itself. Always look for, in certain, literature, wisdom literature, that is, for signposts along the way. What is it that we're, what is it that we're after? I heard it once described, and can certainly, kind of give my own insight on this as well. That the feeling, the experience of this transcendent state, of that higher self, the realization of that higher self, is looking at an image of Krishna, for instance, or Christ, or the Buddha, or Lao Tzu, or Winnie the Pooh, right? Yoda. We could put a lot of different icons in there, a lot of different characters in there, right? The looks on their face, how they act, how they move. At the end of the day, it comes to this very, the look is that of deep peace and calm, of steadiness. Right? So if you are a practitioner of meditation and you are, attempting to transcend the mind, your own mind, it's going to be in those moments where we don't have, obviously, thought ceases, right? As Patanjali says, right? There is no thought. Thought ceases. And a deep feeling, right? It's something that cannot be intellectualized. Deep feeling of peace kind of washes over us. Again, it's not a thing that is easily communicable to the mind. We can't simply say, "Oh, I feel as though I'm in a peaceful state." It's not really the way it works. So now, okay, so we're going to step into pranayama before I go on and on. So if we look at Patanjali's yoga and the 8 limbs, right, we have this kind of clear path to that, right? Yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. And if we look at pranayama, of course, this is breath work. Pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses, as it said, right? Relieving ourselves of those desires. Dharana, concentration, right? And deepening, always deepening your concentration. So as we go through this pranayama practice, of which if you've been, studying these classes with me, you'll be familiar with. It's about, kind of keeping a steady stream of consciousness moving towards the attention, the focus remains on the breath. And then eventually we want that breath to fade into the background. All right? So as it begins to fade into the background, right, the mind goes into a deeper state of concentration, but it's still cognitive. It's still the mind operating, right? Because its object remains. And the object in this case is the breath. Now, as it fades to nothing, and if the mind were held still without thought, then all of a sudden we've reached this state that is beyond the mind. Deep quiet, again, that might bring about that peace we're looking for in that state. And it's not as if it can be, well, I would imagine for some, right? Certainly not for myself. That state can be maintained for long periods of time. I've never realized that myself. Maybe a few minutes if I'm lucky. But don't worry about that. If it's a few moments, a few seconds, that's great. It's as Diana always says, my wife says, it's like putting money in the bank. Right? So each time you go there, if even for a few seconds, it's not as if it's something that you forget. Right? And that bank, right? You keep filling it up. All right, well, let's put it in a deposit, right? So sit up nice and tall, ears, shoulders, and hips aligned. All right, relax your face, your eyes, your jaw. Let's first inhale and exhale. Inhale. And exhale. So now just breathing with control. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now, keep breathing. Smooth and steady. An even rhythm to your breath. Keep your mind focused. Eventually, the breath will begin to fade into the background. Learn to keep your mind quiet. We'll do this concentration, meditation practice for the next few minutes. I'll keep time. Deep inhale, with your shoulders up towards your ears. Exhale out through your mouth. Roll your shoulders back and down. You can blink your eyes open, and hopefully that was helpful. Thank you so much for joining me today. Move about the world with contentment and peace. Okay? Be sure to take care of yourself and others. All right. Peace.